Phil's passion for everything he does is almost legendary. It is what he lives on daily. In fact, unless you had this kind of fire, there is no way you could keep up with him. Join us now for the highlights of a typically average day in Phil's life.
Morning, Mr. Gutsche. Morning, Oscar. Mr. Gutsche, will you be coming home for lunch today?
Morning, Mr. Gutsche. Mr. Gutsche, I've got Mr. Clifford. Coming, Mr. Clifford.
Phil, when I recall, it's quite a number of years I visited you in these offices for various pleas regarding plights of the township. I recall recently when you phoned me about your suggestion, the piece of land between Udnake and Motherwell, that if the government or the area could be released for people to plow, whether vegetables, whether fruit, whatever, and then some keep animals. That is taking place. I was shocked when I visited Motherwell 2 weeks back. I saw big fields being plowed or planted by tractors. People are happy. They have something to do. They have something they are proud of. They are proud of the stock. They are proud also of their fields and gardens.
I was with you for Exeter and the GMT spring break. These are your tickets.
It was a close call last night getting the connecting flight, but as you know, we can't win them all. And as you see, we're busy doing the new conversion to the 1.25 here, busy unpacking all the new glass from Dubai. Quite exciting changing over to 1.25 in George. In fact, it's starting next week. Ms. Gutsche, as you can see, this line is still not running, but with the increased productivity on line 1.
For Phil Gutsche, it has always been about people. The role of his peers and colleagues in the Coca-Cola system has been crucial to both his and Coca-Cola Sabco's success.
In my 34 years with the Coca-Cola Company, I've had the privilege of knowing and working with thousands of dedicated individuals. But among this extraordinary group, no one has impressed me more than Phil Gutsche. Phil is truly exceptional. He's done everything there is to do in the Coca-Cola system, from route sales to plant manager to chairman and CEO of Coca-Cola Sabco. And along the way, he's helped bring the magic of Coca-Cola to millions of new consumers in South Africa and East Africa. And he's done it all with total integrity and quality. I recently had the opportunity to visit with Phil and Yvonne in Cape Town, and I was once again amazed, but not surprised by the energy, passion, and enthusiasm Phil continues to bring to Coca-Cola, even after 4 decades in the business. And he's held on to that most important quality for anyone in our business, a sense of humor. Phil, on behalf of all your Coca-Cola colleagues, I congratulate you on an amazing and inspiring career. Thank you for everything you've done for Coca-Cola and for the contributions you will continue to make in your new role. And most of all, thank you for being such a special person and for being such a reliable and great friend.
My other impression of Phil and his absolute commitment to progress and leaving things better than he found them is his ability to change his own organization and to bring in new management and to really be open to that change and absolutely commit to it come hell or high water. The last thing I would say about Phil, other than the very special friendship that he and Yvonne have given to me and Ellie and our family, is that there's nothing quite like going on a game drive with Phil at about 45 kilometers an hour across the bush. My children particularly enjoyed having most of the fillings knocked loose in their teeth as Phil pursued lion, buffalo, leopard, you name it, across the bush.
Doug Jackson.
You know, I've known Phil Gutsche for for almost 20 years. Phil has always built great relationships. It is a relationship business, you know, we sell a wonderful brand, and I can promise you at Coke, whether it's in Atlanta with Doug Daft, our chairman, with Steve Heyer, I know with all the senior management of the company, you're recognized as one of the true doyens of this business in Africa.
Like me, Phil, you'll never retire. I'm never going to retire. You're never going to retire, so forget about this business of sailing off to Cape, Rio, and so forth. Do a little bit of that, but you'll always be needed and wanted to give your advice and counsel to the Coca-Cola Company and to the greatest business on God's green earth, and that's the Coca-Cola business. Phil, best wishes, and Yvonne, keep him happy, keep him strong, keep him healthy, keep him pioneering. He is a true pioneer, and congratulations on a wonderful and sterling career in Coca-Cola.
So I thank you for all of that. You've been a huge, huge contributor to the success of this enterprise. Your pioneering efforts into East Africa are all noteworthy, and those efforts have added a significant amount of value to what is Coca-Cola SACCO today, and you should be commended for your foresight and wisdom and courage in actually going into East Africa. So really, Phil, this is not goodbye or farewell, because we'll still work together, you will still be around, but this is wishing you all the best in the next chapter.
There's one thing that you will always have in your blood is the Coca-Cola system, Ambagashli.
Hi Phil, 42 years in this system, another great milestone. Phil, you and I go back a long way, 25 years I think, and we've certainly seen some eventful changes during that time. But if I had to single out what I think is your most admirable attribute for me to share with your family and friends and colleagues gathered tonight, it is your unstinting, tenacious loyalty to people and principles you firmly believe in. I also have to pay tribute to Phil the pioneer. I know of no other Coca-Cola bottler who was so up for any challenge to do the business where nobody else would go. Phil, you are a great pillar of the Coca-Cola system. Have a great evening.
It's no coincidence that the three families who founded Sparletta are still the sole surviving family bottlers in the Coca-Cola system in South Africa. I wish Phil well in his new role as non-executive chairman, and presume he will be as successful in this role as he has been throughout his working life.
When I first joined the Forbes Group, Phil had been in the business for 10 years. When I met him, I was immediately struck by the passion and commitment he had for SABCO and the Coca-Cola business, and the endless amount of energy he had in ensuring that those businesses ran well. 32 years later, that energy, passion and commitment is still there. Anyone who's anyone in the soft drink industry worldwide is known to Phil.
His relationship with those in business, industry and local government is measured by the respect he commands as a man of integrity, able to relate to people at any level.
For me, it's really a phenomenal experience to work with a person of the caliber of Phil. And I say that for a number of reasons. First of all, I believe the role modeling value is enormous. For our metropole and for South Africa at large, it's people like him that really serves as a major inspiration for business leaders and people in other sectors. And I've really seen that in his stint here at the Chamber, that he's had a huge impact on many individuals. And what I think Phil does very, very well is not to overlook the small issues, but he pays attention to those, and it's simple issues like punctuality, the integrity issues of really honoring, even if it's trivial commitments, And those are the values that I believe he represents, that has had a huge impact on our operation. So in a nutshell, I believe he is a phenomenal person, and the values and the work ethic that he represents could change any organization into a winning organization.
The relationship that Phil has developed with President Museveni of Uganda is one that is absolutely true, lasting, and personal. I was with President of Uganda in New York and Washington, D.C. just last week. And Phil, he asked me to pass along to you his best wishes on your retirement. I told him that I would be sitting with you in early December in Port Elizabeth, celebrating your next phase of work.
Also, when we were in Monte Carlo for a Coca-Cola conference, Phil took his secretary and my wife and I for a quick spin in his hired car. Phil is well known for his driving skills. The fastest object between 2 points is Phil driving a motor car. For about half an hour we were driven on the slopes of the hills, Monte Carlo, and Phil never heard or never saw the people hooting and gesturing at him as he entered one-way streets in the wrong way. We survived it, but we saw very little of the surrounding beauty. Phil, I have never regretted working for you. It has always been stimulating, exciting, and fulfilling. Wendy wants to join me in wishing you a happy and relaxing and well-deserved retirement.
In February 1995, the Port Elizabeth plant hosted former President Nelson Mandela and a number of cabinet ministers. This was a landmark day for Coca-Cola Sabco, as the company had braved the isolation years of sanctions by building its South African operations. The doors that opened for him have done so because of his integrity and reputation as a man whose word was his bond, no matter to whom he gave it.
It all started for me with Sabco back in early 1993. In fact, I was about to start a new job with the Delta Motor Corporation. I'll never forget, Mr. Gutsche came to see me days before I was due to start and told me about this possibility of a venture in Mozambique. And naturally, in those early days, there was not much detail to go by, and I really, it was based on Mr. Gutsche's vision and just on his word that I was prepared to move to Mozambique and give her other potential career opportunities. And with hindsight 10 years later, it's all worked out very well, I believe, and I'm really glad that just by following someone's leadership and vision that I was able to do this.
There's more to life than just work for Phil H. Gutsche. His passion and commitment extended far beyond the walls of his office, the boundaries of his company, or the worldwide Coke system. It reached the hearts of the people.
One of our executive committee at that stage was the Reverend Dr. Brian Jennings, who was the Methodist minister at St. John's, and he thought the really thing to set us right again was to resurrect the trust. And what happened was Brian, after quite a lot of arm twisting, persuaded Phil Gutsche to become chairman of the St. Francis Hospice Trust, and that's where it all began.
And in fact, through the trust, we are enabled to expand. We're now caring for around, about 500 patients a month, mostly patients in their own homes, people who are dying from incurable illness like cancer and AIDS, people who need our special kind of care.
I see Phil as something like a cheerleader for the hospice.
Not just that he's concerned about the money aspect, he's concerned about every aspect. He has also been touched by personal sadness, and he's just a fine example of how one needs to move forward, to learn the lessons, to grow from the experience.
He's not just a teddy bear who's been kind to to hospice. I think we respect him as a very astute and driven businessman, and we respect this. And I think that he can spare time in his day and time away from his business affairs to take an interest in the hospice. That's been something which we have valued tremendously.
He has proven himself to be a businessman with a big heart, using his financial success as a platform for community, cultural and sporting development. It was this dedication and commitment to make a difference that saw him chosen ahead of 7 other category winners to receive the 1999 EP Herald Mayor's Citizen of the Year Award.
You've always said to me, this is your country, you love it. And every time I hear you say you want to make a contribution, the things you do in Port Elizabeth, you are involved with the politicians to try and enhance everybody's life. I would like to say, in your future life, keep going. You've made a good contribution in this country to the people, your family, the people around you, your employees, and all other people that you have encountered. And those of you who will be around you, you're fortunate to have had you.
The community was a vital ingredient in the success of SA Bottling, with both them and the company sharing in economic growth.
I remember and recall when we were busy building Denkerke Stadium for good reasons. We are the group that started non-racial rugby, much against the wishes or regulations of the government. You encourage us. We would come to you. We have been an outstanding example. I even phone you midnight whenever I have come across the township problems. With those Phil, man, you are a wonderful citizen of Port Elizabeth. If we could just create, or God could create quite a number, even if it's 10 of your caliber, it would be wonderful. Thank you, Phil.
He is playing a larger role in the affairs of the city of which he is most proud. As a retired employee living in the city, I too am proud of the contribution he is making to Port Elizabeth.
Because of the colour of his skin, cricketer Basil D'Oliveira could not represent apartheid South Africa. And in 1960, he left his land of birth to live in England. He was selected to play for England in 1968. But the South African government forbade the series to take place. This presented the South African Bottling Company with a unique opportunity to cement its relationship with the community through the sponsorship of Basil D'Oliveira for a 3-year coaching period during the English off-season. It was the company's symbol of defiance to the government's stated policy. Basil D'Oliveira coached cricket throughout Port Elizabeth, serving all communities.
His arrival in Port Elizabeth in 1973 had an ironic little story to it. We had organised a civic reception for him at the top of the old Elizabeth Hotel, and that room actually happened to overlook the runway of the Port Elizabeth Airport. Everybody was there, from the mayor to councillors, headmasters, cricket coaches, prefects of schools, and everybody was waiting in great anticipation for the arrival of Basil. We looked out across the bay from which the aircraft usually arrived, and no aircraft arrived, and finally we found the airport. And we found that there had been an accident on the airport where a light aircraft had a wheels-up landing. This had left Basil sitting in the Boeing at the East London airport, waiting for the civil aviation authorities to clear the PE runway to enable the Boeing to arrive. And when he finally arrived about 3 hours late, we found that the plane that had been involved in the accident had actually been piloted by Phil's dad, who had inadvertently, as a result of a switch from one aircraft to another, hit the flap switch too early, and what he thought was a flap switch too early, and actually hit the undercarriage switch, causing a belly-up landing.
The memories of my visits to the townships are mainly very happy ones, But it meant everything at that time to be able to return to South Africa, to make some contribution to the game that I love so much and that gave me so much. Without the great support that I received from SA Bottling, this would just not have been possible. And I would take this opportunity to thank Phil Gutsche and his colleagues for showing the determination and courage that they did. For those were very difficult times for us all.
Not only was I Mr. Gutsche's private secretary, there were occasions when he had to go overseas, accompanied by his wife, and I used to go to his house in Lloyd Road, look after the children, get them to school in the morning, get my own son to school in the morning, and go to the office. At the end of their school day, I'd go and collect the children, take them home, and spend the night at his house. These were wonderful times because it gave them peace of mind also. Mr. Gutsche, may I wish you continued success, good health in the years to come, and many blessings as you go forward in life.
Play quite physically with Philip. We used to wrestle. And every time he was getting the better of me, I'd say, Mum, look what Philip's doing. And Mum would say, Philip, leave Margaret alone. And then I was loose again and I could start again.
When Philip was working at the SA Bottling in Port Elizabeth, I was without a car. I was without a car for many years. And he decided that that wasn't right. So he bought me a car. One day I got a phone call from Durban, and it was Philip, and he said, Mom, can you come down to Durban? I want you to come and fetch your car. I've bought you a...
I'd like to thank you for all you've put into this business over the years and wish you all the best for a very happy, healthy retirement.
Some of the sailing memories. Being out there sailing, all conditions. Well, so I think that's one thing we've learned, stamina and determination, and life goes on and it's up to you to make it happen.
I love my grandpa, he's the best grandpa in the world. He takes me to the game farm, he takes me on walks. I love my grandpa because he's my friend.
When do you ask Dad for something?
When he's sleeping.
When he's just about to fall asleep and he just nods off like this, and you ask him
in front of the TV. In front of TV.
And then you ask him something and he says,
a new tennis racket, yes.
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 Yes. And there we are. You've done it.
What happens if one child got, the other one got, and the other one got, and that same rain value? The problem was with inflation years later.
When he's in his suit and he's all stern and serious, and then he sees any of the grandkids, he just gets this big grin on his face, and you just see he's like a little boy in his suit and
big
everything.
hugs.
Yeah, I think something else that really comes from Phil is the negotiating skills. Because this little guy at the age of 2 could negotiate himself out of any situation, and I'm finding it quite hard to cope with.
Whenever he's expected us to do something, even though it's been tough and he's pushed us very hard through certain things, he's always expected like 1,000 times more from himself than he ever has from anyone else.
I think one of the things that I like about Phil is his advice. If I need advice about something, he's the person to go to.
Drive in the bush will no doubt have come to know your legendary game ranging prowess. They will no doubt also have gone with you on a game vehicle where no other game vehicle has gone before, and frankly where no other game vehicle should ever have to go again. Phil, your passion for the Coke brand and your business is also the stuff of legends, and once again I must apologise to you for that one occasion when, after a sweaty game of tennis in Port Alfred, I happened to find myself drinking an energy drink from a competing brand. I really did ask the guy behind the bar for a Powerade.
I will join the hordes of fans and friends who refer to you as wonderful. But my precious, savour the moment. Because tomorrow we revert back to where I tell you what to do, how to do it, when to do it, and you turn around and say to me, my angel, how did I ever get here without you?
And I'd like to raise my glass to you and say that you are the best stepfather any girl could have. The first memory, which is really special to me, is the time that we went to Torchwood the first time with Lex Hess, and we tracked the leopard and we got stuck in Gongas. And if you recall, we nearly drove over Bingo, who was sitting at the front tyre of our vehicle. The walks that we've had along the beachfront with Serena and Mum. Port Elizabeth, of course, being your most favourite city in the whole of the world.
I also want to thank you for passing on those wonderful travelling techniques and skills, which is first on the plane, first off the plane, first onto the bus, first off the bus, run across that tarmac, no matter what the size of my heels are or the width of my skirt.
The first time I met you, I thought, you know, when you meet somebody the first time, you think, you know, they're nice. But after that I learned to know you so well, I feel you are a very kind, very caring man. I like you very, very, very much. You know?
Phil Gutsche is a man of passion in all he puts his hand to, and his hobbies and interests have had a good dose over the years, such as tennis, sometimes a competition, sometimes a game, and sometimes just fun. Every Saturday, when he's in residence, he plays tennis with old acquaintances, or sometimes with his son Edward.
Thanks, Phil.
And on those balmy Eastern Cape evenings, even under floodlight.
Phil, all I'd like to just say is in the future I'd like you to just give my friend Pitya, who's my partner, a reasonable chance in the tennis court.
If I'd known that I would have to face up to this morning, I wouldn't have come.
I think it's amazing that the club has continued to run for so many years, and we've had new and old come in, and you actually approach your tennis, you're such a fighting spirit like you approach business.
What about balls? So when they were playing tennis, we used to be sent up to
retrieve
all their tennis balls for them.
Whole Saturday afternoon retrieving balls. Okay.
I remember Dad always used to get such a thrill out of beating us at tennis, and we were only about this big. We could hardly even pick up one of those old wooden tennis rackets.
He still gets a thrill out of beating you at tennis.
At the top of Phil's list of interests is without doubt yachting. But he enjoys the fun side of yachting and the general feeling of being the man at the helm. Come Sundays, weather permitting, and also on Wednesday evenings, you will find Phil sailing Algoa Bay. Yachting is most definitely a team sport, and Phil is a team player. But what do the men who sail with him have to say about him?
So I remember the first time I met Phil, I knew of him because he'd sailed the 93 rear race on Witch Doctor, which is his Baltic 42. And then he decided he wanted to do the rear race properly with a decent boat, and he decided on a 50-footer. And he went to visit Alex Simonis, the yacht designer, and I got to know about it because I really wanted to sell him some sails. So, and the boat sort of grew as these things do, because Alex Simonis is a very persuasive person and Phil Gutsche is a very ambitious person, and suddenly the boat was 60 foot. And it was the right size for him, just needed to sail the boat properly and have everybody loyal on board and have a really happy ship. Go to regattas and we party like hell, and then we race really hard, and that's beautiful because that's really what Phil does in his life. He has a lot of fun, but he works like hell, and he understands all that, and he's helped us as younger guys, also most of us involved in our own businesses, to really take something out of that. And I think all of us be more successful because of it. I remember in the first rear race, the guys used to sit down below here and watch the computer, the graph of the course, and he even got the nickname Merv the Swerve at one stage. Well, it didn't take long for him to get that right, and he's a fine sailor today. So we always say, winning isn't everything, it's the only thing.
I've had the distinction and pleasure of being able to sail the 3 Rio races that Phil has done, and that's unique. I was given the additional responsibilities of looking after the food, and that was a huge challenge. I remember lying awake at night fearful of how I was going to feed 10 guys for 16 days, 3 times a day, and I used to wake up in a cold sweat wondering what I was going to do if I burnt one of the meals because there was only enough food to last us the 16 days. And then of course the day of the race was just unbelievable. The sound, helicopters flying all over the place. The start, Rick put us right on the line and we sailed down to, there was a buoy at Mooley Point, hey Rick?
Off Granger Bay.
Yeah, off Granger Bay, and we had to go around there. I didn't see much of that. I was on the grinders and just had my eyes looking inwards and looking at some footage afterwards. Phil had hired the Spirit of Victoria for family and friends, and looking at some footage afterwards, it was quite interesting that Rick, once we got around that mark at Granger Bay, elected to go out towards Robben Island when everybody else was going down the coast towards Sea Point. And this Spirit of Victoria got in the way, and it's quite incredible because I don't think we missed it by more than a meter. And there was a huge amount of screaming and shouting, but it turned out to be the right move because we actually were first out of the bay. We beat all the bigger boats and we were headed out to Rio. We got the other side of Robben Island. We jibed and we set up the boat, Spinnaker, and I can remember sitting on the rail. The sun was just starting to go down and Phil was sitting next to me, and he just turned to me and with this big smile on his face he said to me, "Vincent, this is what it's all about."
One thing I always remember about Phil was our first trip on Warrior. The boat got launched in September of '95 and the Rio race was due for January '96. And we chose a day and flew people from all around the country for that trip, and had some of his mates from PE, some of the old chaps, the Veranda Vikings from Algoa Bay Yacht Club, and we had some of the crew who were scheduled to sail with us to Rio. We had some of the boat builders, we had the mast maker, we had a lot of people on board, and as luck would have it, a northwest gale sprung up, and morning came, the Friday morning we were going to leave, and it was blowing 35 knots out of the north, and the sea was rough. We all felt a little bit squeezy, as you do when you haven't sailed for a while and first out at sea, and Phil also always feels like that for a couple of hours, and he went down below, got himself right, and then eventually we did a very fast trip to Cape Point, and we were probably halfway across False Bay, maybe a bit further, and Phil came up and he said, "Right, Rick, I'm ready to try this baby." And he said, "I want to see what I've spent my money on." And Malcolm and I were on deck with him, and we'll never forget this because it was a wonderful moment. And he came and he stood next to me. I was steering, and he stood there and he looked up at me and he said, "Right," and he just grabbed the wheel, "Faba!" And he stood with his legs apart and he took charge of his machine, and he just hammered down those waves, and they were like mine shafts, you know, they were huge waves and they were steep, and he was just going for it. And right away I realized this man's got balls that are huge, not just in business but everything he does.
Well, we did the '96 race and then we did the 2000 race, and if you spend 16 days at sea with someone, I think it's almost tighter than a marriage. You get to know the guy really well, and he's got tremendous energy, I mean endless energy. After the first race we got to Rio and he said, "Come Malcolm, let's go and see what's happening ashore." And I was kind of getting my land legs right, and this guy just took off into the distance. I mean, he goes at about 2,000 miles per hour. You know, he's got incredible energy. And on the race, he drove us every day. He was energizing us, driving us. We developed nicknames for him as we went along. He was busy developing Africa, so he became the African conqueror.
Phil, we've had some really good times together, and just on behalf of the Warriors, I just want to say you've made our lives really a hell of a lot richer, from the racing we've done with you, the times we spent with you, the restaurants we've been to, the walks we've done, the beaches we've been to. We've done a hell of a lot together. Our families have become entwined with yours, and always you're a level person, and you're a goer, you're ambitious. You've taught us all to respect people. Not that we didn't know it before maybe, but you've reinforced values in us. And I think that's where it comes. It's not all about sailing. It's more about living and how you carry out your life, and always keep pushing for the next level. We really appreciate what we've done with you, and thanks, and good luck for your future.
Phil Gutsche is a man that has burned with a fire, a great passion for life that has never been quenched, no matter how great the challenge. The measure of a man is not what is said about him after he is gone, but while he lives. You have inspired us, challenged us, amazed us, gave hope where there was none, faced adversity with dignity, fought the good fight with valor and honor, made fun a vital part of who you are, and kept your eyes on the vision and your hand on the helm of life. We salute you.